Hi folks, welcome back to my World of Tanks replays with the mighty Jingles. As you can see, today we're in the garage with the Hetzer, the German Tier 4 tank destroyer. First of all, before we get started, a little bit of historical background on this machine. Hetzer is actually a completely unofficial name. The official designation for this thing is the Panzer Jaeger 38T. It was built on the chassis of the Panzer 38T light tank. The Hetzer was just a nickname that was given to it by the crews, who loved this machine. It was a very, very good little machine. Traditionally, your German infantry divisions would have tank destroyer battalions which would accompany them into battle, and the Hetzer made up the majority of the vehicles in those panzer battalions. This and the Stug, two most successful German tank destroyers of the war. Very cheap, very easy to manufacture, mechanically reliable, and with a decent selection of guns available for them. This 75mm Pak 39 L48 gun was the typical armament of the Hetzer, but there were plans to equip it with all sorts of different weapons. The 75mm gun from the Panther was scheduled to be fitted to this thing. There were 50 models produced that had flamethrowers. There were plans, and you can see it here in World of Tanks. Oh, there we go, yep, 105mm Stu 42 L28. There was a version of this with a 150mm gun. It was just such a versatile little machine. But here in game, how does it perform? Well, it's bloody good actually. Let's have a look at the stats. First of all, 270 hit points. Now that is a pitifully poor amount of health. But you have to put this into perspective. That's actually got the most health of any of the Tier 4 tank destroyers. They are all very, very low on health. It doesn't take many shots from anything to kill one of these things. It's a very light machine, and when you're driving it, it feels like a very light machine. Mine weighs at just under 17 tons, but the engine power is not fantastic, and the top engine, the Tatra Type 103, only produces 220 horsepower. The stock engine, 100 horsepower. This is an awful machine to drive when it's stock. That stock engine is just appallingly bad, and you have to go through 3 engine upgrades to get to the top engine. And the first engine, 120 horsepower, terrible. The second engine, getting better, still not very good, 165 horsepower. You really need the top engine upgrade on this tiny little thing in order to make the thing move. However, when you do get that top engine, well, it is surprisingly mobile. It's certainly not fast, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's nowhere near as quick as the Stug or the Jagdpanther, but it can get up to 42 kilometers per hour with a bit of help, going downhill. But its average, cruising speed, for want of a better word, is in the region of 30-34 kilometers per hour, and it's good enough to get from cover to cover, lie up, hide, get ready to take your next shot. And it does turn reasonably well as well, 30 degrees per second, which is very important in a tank destroyer if you don't want to get flanked and surrounded. The view range is very bad, 260 meters. And you're going to find when you look at the other Tier 4 tank destroyers, well, traditionally if you look at the Americans, because they tend to have open-topped vehicles, open-top vehicles have much, much better view range. If you look at the T49, the M8A1, at Tier 4, that has 370 meter view range. That's phenomenally good for a Tier 4 machine. In fact, if you even look at the Marder, the Tier 3 German tank destroyer, 360 meter view range, open-top vehicle. Now, having that great view range in an open-top vehicle does come with a trade-off. These low-profile, fully enclosed tank destroyers, like the Hetzer and like the Stug 3, they can't see very far, but they are very, very stealthy. So it is a bit of a trade-off, but you wouldn't believe how stealthy this thing is. With the crew with camo skill, with a camo net, a pair of binoculars to offset the fact that you only have 260 meter view range. Wow, this thing is incredibly good. It's just impossible to detect. That you wouldn't believe how close bad guys have to get before they spot you when you're hiding in a bush with this thing. It is incredibly stealthy. And it's also incredibly well armoured, comparatively speaking. While it only has 60mm of armour, it's a massive upgrade over the Marder as far as armour goes. If you look at the Marder at tier 3, 30mm, and there's a bit of angling on the armour there, but there's not really any slope whatsoever. This thing gets shot at, it tends to die very, very quickly. The Hetzer has 60mm of armour. It's almost double the actual thickness, but it's not just the thickness. Look at the slope. That's a 60-degree slope. That makes the effective frontal upper armour of the Hetzer 120mm thick due to the thickness and the slope of the armour. That's phenomenally good. And so a lot of people find that when they're shooting at this little bastard, their shots just bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce off the front. From the sides, it's still got a good amount of slope there, but it's only 20mm thick. It is very easy to kill a Hetzer from the side. And from the rear, 8mm. You get around the rear of a Hetzer, he is so dead. I mean, he's dead because he can't shoot you, because his gun points forward, but seriously, 8mm of armour. So while the Hetzer is very, very, very well protected compared to the Marder, it's only from the front. And if you can get a shot at the lower glacis, you will penetrate, usually, regardless of whatever gun you're firing at him. Obviously, M3 Lees have problems because they're M3 Lees and they're the worst tank in the game, but very, very well armoured from the front. And then we move on to the gun selection. Now, choice of 3 different guns for this tank. The stock gun, in fact we'll look at it in the tech tree and see what you have to actually research. You don't have to research anything on this to get to the Stug if that's all you want to do, but it is 12,435 experience and almost 500,000 credits. But I would recommend that you do research a lot of this stuff. Well, what can I say? The engines, it shares one engine with the Panzer 38T. I believe that a lot of the Hetzers were manufactured by the Skoda factory in Czechoslovakia. That would certainly explain the names of a lot of these engines, the Praga, the Tatra. It's a bit of a... If you're going to play the Hetzer, you want these engines. You definitely want these engines. If you're not going to play the Hetzer and you just want to skip straight to the Stug 3, then yeah, fine, go for it. Research the tracks, research one of these guns, and then just use one of those guns to grind the 14,000 XP you need to get the Stug 3. But if you're going to play the Hetzer properly, you want these engines, no question about it. It's a bit of a waste because these two are only used on the Hetzer, they're not shared with any other vehicle, but it just makes the thing so much more mobile. But the guns are what we came here to look at. So there's the stock gun, there's the proper 75mm gun, and there's the derp gun. Now, the 105mm howitzer is a derp gun. It's a howitzer. And they all share the same characteristics. 0.53 accuracy, absolutely lousy. Buttload of damage with a high explosive shell, 350 damage, yep, no problem. Excuse me. Lousy penetration, 64mm, very slow rate of fire. However, this one does have very, very good aiming time, 1.7 seconds. That's really, really good news. And that's kind of unique as far as howitzers go. That's a really, really fast aiming time. So that is certainly an option on this thing. Now, prior to patch 7.5, I sold my Hetzer a long, long time ago. And that was purely because of the matchmaking. I used to... Because a tier 4 tank destroyer could get into a tier... I think it could get into a tier 8 game. You were completely useless in a tier 8 game in this thing with one of these 75mm guns. And so the only way to be effective was to use that derp gun. But then, a couple of patches back, they changed the way the high explosive damage mechanics worked. And then suddenly you were pretty much useless in a tier 8 game, even with the howitzer. And so I suspect a lot of other people just gave up on the Hetzer because it couldn't be competitive in half the games that it got into. It was just completely useless. But patch 7.5 has changed all that. Now the biggest thing the Hetzer is ever going to face is a tier 6 heavy tank like the M6 or the KV-1S or the T120, and so suddenly these 75mm guns start becoming a lot more competitive. So let's take a look at these two. Now, the L43 is the stock weapon that you get with this gun, and it's not great. I mean, it's not terrible, but it ain't great. 15.38 rounds per minute rate of fire, which is pretty good. Penetration 98 millimeters. Yeah. You're going to have problems with KVs, M6s, even T1 heavy tanks from the front with that kind of penetration. T150s, forget it. You need to aim for weak spots. And unfortunately, with .41 accuracy, you can't really aim for weak spots. And the damage is 110. It's a 75mm high velocity gun. The damage output isn't fantastic. It's more about the rate of fire, and usually with 75mm guns, the accuracy. That ain't the case with this thing. So this is the gun that you want to go for if you're not going to use the Hetzer. And this is the Pak 39 L48 gun. Now, it's not that much better than the stock gun, but it is better, and you're going to be using it on the Stug 3 while you're grinding it up to the good L70 75mm gun on the Stug. So best you research it here, it'll save you time later. And it isn't that much better than the other gun. It's slightly more accurate, but it's still pretty inaccurate. 0.4. That's bad accuracy. Slightly more penetration, 106mm, but any edge that you can get against those tier 6 heavy tanks, you're going to need, and exactly the same amount of damage, and the rate of fire is slightly better. So that is pretty much the Hetzer. Equipment fit, well, I've gone for an even faster rate of fire. The aiming time on that gun is only 1.7 seconds. You don't need a gun main drive. A medium caliber tank gun rammer, not a bad idea at all. Pretty much on any tank destroyer, because of the way this thing plays, you lurk in the bushes and you just wait for something to wander into your sights, and then you start ripping them apart with that gun. And once you fire your gun on this thing, you've given your position away. And yeah, you do have very, very good frontal armor protection from most things that are going to be shooting back at you, but you don't know what's waiting around on your flanks, and you don't know whether artillery is going to be shooting at you, and you really want to kill whatever has wandered into your sights as quickly as possible so you can get back into cover and hide up again. So that's why I always like to have a tank gun rammer, even on this. Speaking of this thing's incredibly good stealth profile, camo net. Absolutely must have a camo net on one of these things. And because the view range is so bad, I would definitely say binocular telescope. Just to increase the chance that you're going to detect them and be able to get the first shot off. Because this thing is only tier 4. Good luck relying on your team to scout effectively in tier 4 games, where most people just derp around the battlefield, running around spamming their autocannons and everything, and you know what I'm talking about. It's a tier 4 tank destroyer. You kind of have to look after yourself in random matches, and the best way to look after yourself and not have to rely on your team to be competent is to keep yourself hidden with a camo net and increase your chances of first targeting the enemy with binocular telescopes. Crew skills: camouflage, 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 camouflage. You do not want anything else other than camouflage on this machine. Once you reach camouflage at 100%, well, yeah, there's other sorts of options, and they're pretty much common to all the tank destroyers. Brothers in arms for the full crew isn't a bad idea, but you're talking about getting 2 full skills to 100% before, that at 100% before it becomes effective, and then you definitely want camouflage at 100% as well. Recon for even more view range, not a bad idea at all. Sixth Sense, when this reaches 100%, I am probably going to swap it for Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is an incredibly useful skill for a commander of a tank destroyer to have, just to let you know when you need to get the hell out of there. The gunner, not really. I mean, excuse me, once that reaches 100%, I'll probably go for designated target. Targeted enemy vehicle is visible for 2 more seconds, even if it is a perk. As long as he's got camouflage, I really don't care. None of the others are really useful. The driver, once that camouflage reaches 100, perhaps go for off-road driving, or maybe even clutch braking. It turns pretty fast anyway, so probably off-road driving first, just to decrease ground resistance and get a bit more acceleration when you're driving off-road. And I really couldn't care less what the loader gets. God, I don't know. Once he's got camouflage, I don't know, maybe go for repairs. Load of skills, useless. Who gives a toss? So, yeah, that's the Hetzer. I really, really like this thing. Now that it has much better matchmaking after patch 7.5, I'm liking this thing again, and I'm really enjoying playing it. So here's a few games just to give you a taste of how the thing actually works. So this was the first game that I played after patch 7.5 when I bought my Hetzer again. I've only had it about a week, and it's the Magic Forest. It's Muir of Anchor, a tier 5 game, tier 4 tank destroyer. This is a pretty good example of what I'm talking about and why I like having camera binoculars on this thing, so I can look after myself. Because in most random games, especially at this sort of level, you can't rely on your team. You have to be able to take care of yourself. And not being seen and seeing them first is the best way for a tank destroyer to do that. And that's why I go with binoculars and camo net on my Hetzer. Now, I'm not stupid. This is about as far forward as I want to get. I'm not going first in a tank destroyer. That's just stupid. We're going to let these fellas head up first, and then we're going to shoot at what they spot. Come on. Where are you? There we go. T20.
Looks like that one went right through. Gotcha!
And there's a first kill. There's a Panzer III up there. How stupid is he going to be? Oh yeah, they all come. T34, T28, Panzer III, Panzer 38. Well, T34's run right into them and got himself killed instantly. So let's find the next spot of cover, because I don't want to be their next victim. And we're going to wait. Now, I know I can't see through these bushes. Ideally, I wouldn't matter. You'd wait for your guys who've gone up ahead to spot targets for you. But, Team 4 game, not every team to be competent. Sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. Are you sure this is?
Find another target.
2 kills. We are actually winning 6-4. Oh, we're stuck. He's pointing the other way. Try and blow his tracks off.
Penetration.
Yep, blew his tracks off. Finish him off.
We've hit them hard.
And yeah, we didn't finish him, but pretty much took 98% of his health off, so that'll do. Winning 8-5. What could possibly go wrong? See this guy down here? He has friends. Now, I'm doing about 34 kilometers per hour here. Imagine how slow this thing would be. This is with the 220 horsepower engine. Just imagine how slow this thing moves with a stock 100 horsepower engine. Hang on, when did we suddenly start losing? It's those random teams again. So I come back to defend our artillery. There's a Panzer III. First shot goes wide, but then he stops. He's had his tracks blown off.
Got him.
Oh, now their KV-1 is over there as well. There he is on the map. Now, I'm going to defend the artillery, but Arnie, you have to take some sort of responsibility for your own safety. If you're going to be stupid enough to just sit there, well, fine. Screw you. Oh, I saw trees falling. I'm not putting myself between that SU-26 and the KV-1 that's coming in. I mean, there's a big wide open field up here. I want the full advantage of my binoculars. Yeah. Oh god, we're losing 9-10. Me and Panzer 3 and 2 artillery left, and very, very soon there's only going to be 1 artillery because that idiot is still sitting in the middle of the open field. Okay, here comes Panzer 3. Blew his tracks off. And he sees me.
They're hit. We've torched them.
Second fire.
Nice shot.
SC-26 finishes. Hetzer. Missed. And he's been tracked.
Enemy vehicle knocked down.
4 kills. Now nobody's taken a shot at me yet that I'm aware of. So I'm going to stay in this bush. This is where you start to have problems.
We've just dinged him.
Just about the only place you can reliably penetrate the KV-1 from the front with SC-75 gun is the flattened part of the upper glacis under the turret. But this gun only has .41 accuracy.
They're hit.
And it's very hard to hit, as you can see. And I'm also being shot in the side by an invisible Panzer 4.
That one didn't go through. We've had it. Let's get out of here.
What can you do? So it will come as no great surprise to learn that, yeah, we totally failed. And the team managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But it does illustrate just how close that Panzer KV-1 had to get to us before he was aware of where we were, even though we were shooting at him. He knew he was being shot at, but he couldn't see who it was until he got within about 100, 130, 40 metres. By the same token, we just couldn't penetrate. 106mm of penetration against an even slightly angled KV-1, and the only place you can penetrate from the front is that flattened strip of armour just underneath the turret, and this gun just isn't accurate enough to do. Well, you can hit it, but you need to get this gun so close to the KV-1 that he's just going to kill you. And it turned out to be irrelevant anyway, because there was an invisible Panzer 4 behind us who ended up shooting us in the ass and taking us out in 3 shots. And that's what you can expect to happen when you're driving a Hetzer and you get outflanked. You die very, very, very quickly indeed. Stealth is your only defence in this thing. Well, that and bouncing shots from the front, which this thing is actually quite good at doing. So anyway, another reason. Malinovka. Map that attracts idiots like shit attracts flies. Although to be fair, this team wasn't that bad. Probably better than you could expect from a random team in a tier 4 game, to be completely honest. To give their credit where credit is due. These guys didn't all camp the hill. So, well done to them. Now, I'm platooned up with Dan and Frozy in their T40s. And we have decided that, well, we've got heavies going down into the woods on the other side of the map. We're going to cover this side of the map. The light tanks all end up rushing forward in a race to see who can get themselves killed the quickest. Hello, Panzer 3. I'm just clearing that cover in front of me so that I'm going to have to move up. There he is. Right, okay.
Penetration. Enemy armor is damaged. Enemy vehicle knocked down.
There's the first kill. Now, I didn't actually plan on going any further forward than this, but in front of me kept getting themselves killed. So I ended up becoming, once again, the team's scout. So Frozy stays on top of the hill, and Dan can see what's going on down there as well. and he comes down to sit on my right flank so he can actually cover the other side of the big field, leave me in the woods. But he's also in a position where he can give support fire in the woods as well. Now, I don't have much confidence in those two Marders' ability to not get themselves killed. However, I can at least kill whatever's going to kill them. You know, they're moving forward, they're not sitting still in the bushes. All I'm doing is moving from cover to cover, and oh, here we come. There's a Valentine. And of course he spotted our two Marders.
Ricochet. Enemy vehicle destroyed.
And that's a Marder shooting at me.
The driver is hit. He can barely steer.
There we go. 3 shots from just about anything is all you can take in this thing. 1 more shot and I'm dead. I've killed one of our Marders. They put me on 13%. But Dan's nailed their artillery. Me and Dan are sitting here with 2 kills each. And we got a little congratulations from the Valentine driver that we killed. But here comes the threat. So Dan and Frozy are both peppering these guys. And I'm on the big one.
Penetration.
And I think Dan actually tracked him. Now he's a sit back.
We've hit them hard. Enemy vehicle destroyed.
And there's 3 kills. And he had, all throughout the course of that, he had no idea where I was. And now, T28
They're hit.
makes a suicide run.
Enemy armor is hit.
Dan finishes him off with this howitzer. If you look at the other side of the map, it's not looking too clever. They've got a light tank. It's actually, I think it's an M3 Stuart coming up the hill. And there's 1 tank destroyer between him and the artillery. It's only an Su-76. Yep, M3 Stuart. Now this was a miracle of a shot.
Enemy is hit.
Actually hit him. Should have killed him, but did no damage. And that's going to come back and bite us in the ass later. That Stuart driver was very annoying. So we're sitting here with our platoon has 6 of our team's 8 kills. But the enemy team made this easy for us. I mean, they've killed everything in front of me. I am now effectively scouting. And the first line of defence in a tank destroyer, which I'd like to be back up on the hill, but there's nobody else down here. So, but the enemy team, as I said, they made it easy for us. They came at us one at a time. Now, I know that there are 2 enemy Marders up in those woods ahead of us, so I ain't going forward. Not when they can easily kill me with 1 shot. Now, Frozy's starting to come down the hill to back us up in the woods. We're actually on TeamSpeak at the moment, and I'm saying, Frozy actually, do you want to go back up the hill and cover the other side? Look, there's nothing there but artillery. So I'm going to speed things up until something happens. You know, sit here watching the bushes for the next 10 minutes. All we have to do is survive another 4 minutes. Here they come, they're pushing up the other side now. There's a tank destroyer and that M3. There's one of the Marders. And oh no, it's Panzer 3018. That's missed him, but that looks like a howitzer hit. So Frozy gets a good kill. Kills the Marder. And then their artillery takes Frozy out. So there's nobody left on top of the hill now but our artillery, and we haven't detected anybody. We've got nothing for RT to shoot at. So pretty much this is down to me and Dan now. And our platoon has 7 of the team's 11 kills. At this point, however, I wouldn't be feeling too confident if I was on the enemy team. Speed things up again, because I mean, you know that. Oh, here it comes now. I screw up here. I've loaded high explosives and trying to kill this Marder, but high explosive for some reason does not one-shot kill that Marder. And I was actually typing something in chat. I was actually typing come out, wherever you are. Try and tease these guys into moving. Worst possible moment. Marder appears in front of them. I've got an open text window. Dan saved my ass. So now he's on 4 kills, I'm on 3. And our artillery, well, I'm not leaving cover to go up and kill that M3 Lee. Aren't you just going to have to defend themselves? We're not here to hold the hill. Just because RT are camping on the hill, that ain't my problem. We're here to prevent the cap. The cap is not on the hill. But there's only 1 minute and 40 seconds left. And now all they have left is their artillery, who has done very, very well. And 1 Hetzer. Dan has eyes on the cap, and I can reinforce him if anybody makes a break for it. And I've also got these woods covered. I just don't know where that Hetzer is. So I'm going to speed things up until something happens. 1 minute left to go, and then we've won this. We just have to not die. And there he is. And this is how easy it is to kill a Hetzer from the side.
Looks like that
See,
one
he's got
went
the
right
howitzer.
through.
That one bounced off his upper glacis. Then he appears again. Boom.
He's gone.
Right through
Find
his lower
another
glacis.
target.
And then move, because that Sternpanzer 2 is a good player and I don't want to end this match by getting killed. And then time runs out. And there you go, 1700 XP, doubled to 21,000 credits. My previous game, the one that failed horribly, we actually earned more credits than that because this is only a tier 4 game. We're top tier, and everybody that we killed was either tier 4 or lower. And so obviously, you know, as is always the case, if you're shooting at targets that are higher tier than you get a much, much better experience bonus. So that was under 1,000 experience, even for the win, but it was a tier 4 game. 4 kills, 3 damaged. They were all tier 4 or lower, so yeah, there you go. But not bad. I mean, it's only a tier 4 machine. It's not a tier 5 moneymaker, and it's still made a decent amount of credits. 21,000 is certainly nothing to sniff about. But let's see how it does with slightly stiffer competition. So here we are on Westfield. It's a tier 5 game. There's 4 tier 5s per side. Now they've got 2 of those KV1s that gave us so many problems in Muravanka, and a Churchill, which has even thicker frontal armour than a KV1. Plus a T-49 tier 5 tank destroyer. And we've got T-49 of their own, plus an SU-85, which is good news. He has the 85mm gun, good. A T-14 and a Churchill of their own as well. So I'm heading up into the hills with all the bushes up here. Now, note that I'm doing 9 kilometers an hour going up this hill. It's with 220 horsepower Tatra engine, the top engine. Imagine what this thing is like with the 100 horsepower engine, the stock engine. It doesn't even bear thinking about. You seriously need to get those engine upgrades if you're going to play this thing even slightly seriously. So our T-49 goes dashing off, thinking that he's a T-50-2, and he's probably going to get himself killed for no reason whatsoever. Yep, there he goes. They have an SU-85B over there, so I'm going to park in these bushes, and I'm just going to see if this guy is going to be so incredibly stupid that he is going to drive over the top of a hill in no cover and allow me to blow his tracks off.
Enemy armor is hit.
And then finish him off.
He's
Yep,
gone.
he
Find
is.
another
Oh,
target.
hello.
We're immobilized.
2 can play in that game.
We didn't
Now,
even scratch them.
in order to penetrate this Hetzer, I'm going to have to hit his lower plate. And you know what? That's a very, very small target, this range.
We've just
But
beat them.
he's having exactly the same problems with me now. I'm still aiming at this guy, and I've literally not noticed that T-49. T-82's going to derp him.
Track hit.
Where is he? Yeah, and I finish him off. Now, I took a hit in the crossfire there from that Churchill in the flank.
Enemy armor is hit.
Now I have shots at that Hetzer's
Enemy armor is destroyed.
lower glacis. And there's another Hetzer, okay. And again, I've got shots at his lower glacis. Bang! There you go. See the hole right with the gun. Can't win them all. Clearly he knows where I am as well.
That's gotta hurt.
And no, I'm not going to hit him now. Now,
We didn't even scratch them.
Churchill is even stronger on than a KV-1. But his gun has really lousy penetration. And so you can see he's just bouncing shot after shot
That one
off me.
didn't go through.
That does work both ways.
Now stop.
Because unless I can hit a weak spot, I ain't going to penetrate the front of the Churchill with this gun.
That one didn't go through.
And this gun only has 0.4 accuracy, so good luck hitting the front. Good luck hitting the weak spots of the Churchill at 224 metres with this gun.
Enemy is hit.
I'm trying to put one through his gun mantle, which is
Penetration.
the weakest part of the turret.
We
But at
didn't
that angle,
penetrate their armor.
and then here, bang,
Enemy is hit.
that one went right through the roof of the hull in front of the gun turret, which is, if you can get above a Churchill, it's one of the best places to shoot it. But you'd have to be silly to want to trade fire frontally with a Churchill, especially if he's angled. It's far better to wait for him to be occupied, people off to the flank, and then pop around his side.
Penetration. That's gotta
Aiming
hurt.
very, very fast turret traverse on the Churchill.
That one didn't
I'm
go
trying to
through.
get through his gun mantle, and yes,
Enemy
gotcha.
vehicle destroyed.
At that sort of range, you do have the accuracy to hit those weak spots. So all they have left is KV-1, who does have 4 kills, a Hetzer and a Panzer 38T. Oh, Panzer 38T, that's what the Hetzer's based on. So speed things up a little until something happens. And there's their Hetzer. Oh no, SU-85 has killed their KV-1. And today just seems to be the day for Churchills getting killed by Hetzers. Watch our Churchill over there. Don't know what it is about Churchills and Hetzers. And then our artillery finishes him off just as I'm about to get the killing blow. Or, well, you never know, he may have killed me. He was certainly pointing my way. And then, there's the Panzer 38T. Can we get him? Can we get him? Can we get him? Can we get him? Can we get him?
Got him.
Yes, we can. So, tier 5 game. Obviously, more experience earned because, you know, we're shooting at tier 5s this time as well as the tier 4s. And 30 shots fired. This is unbelievable. 30 shots fired. 26 did hit the target. We got a sniper medal with a .4 accuracy gun. Hooray! But more surprisingly, even though we took 2 hits, and those 2 hits left us on 37% health, but we actually took 9 hits, 7 bounces, and that's all those guys shooting at the 60-degree angled 60mm thick effective 120mm frontal upper glacis of the Hetzer. From the front, unless you can hit the glacis, the lower glacis of this thing, good luck. Just good luck killing a Hetzer from the front if he's got his lower plate covered up. Very, very difficult target. Artillery, oh yeah, no problem. Rip this thing apart without even looking at it. Pretty much anybody else, very, very tough little nut to crack, and so incredibly stealthy. He is always going to get the first shot off at you. I'm very, very happy that I bought this thing again. Prior to patch 7.5, I wouldn't have touched it with a barge pole. It just didn't have the gun to be competitive in the kind of games it got into. But the 7.5 matchmaking change has really, really breathed fresh life into this thing, as it did into the Stug. And I am really enjoying playing it again. And it doesn't make as much money as a Tier 5 moneymaker, like a Tier 5 medium or tank destroyer or even a Tier 5 heavy. But it very, very rarely fails to make a profit. I mean, 37% health, my repairs are 817 credits, and it's made me 21,000, nearly 22,000. And experience-wise, 1200 XP. Undoubled for a Tier 4. That's really good. Bear in mind, of course, this is all with the premium account, so 50% extra credits, 50% extra experience, but still, that ain't bad at all, not too shabby. So that was the Hetzer, the Russian, no it isn't the Russian, it's the German Tier 4 tank destroyer, and I'm really happy I bought it again. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm definitely not selling this. So I hope you enjoyed the replay, and maybe learned a little about the Hetzer, and until next time, catch you on the battlefield. Take care.